Alright everybody, welcome back to the beginner series for Hearthstone. I am Dr. Day Dreadscythe from Grindexp.com, and just welcome back. So last week was the individual card mechanics video, which is linked in the description, and now I'm going to start a new quote-unquote series, but still under the general theme of beginner and learning about the individual cards, and that's going to be the individual class cards. So I'm going to go over the general themes of the minions, the spells, and if there's any weapons that class may have, and give you an opportunity to see the cards, describe them, give you a few deck ideas, but not pigeonhole the cards as this one's the best, this one's not, you should always use this one, or you should shy away from this one, because as the game comes out, as we go through beta and as we go through release, some cards may fall out of favor, but they may come back depending if a new booster pack comes out, digital wise, however they decide to do it, as well as, you know, counter deck, and then there's another deck to counter that one, the cyclic nature of decks and how they come to be. So just going to give a general overview, let you see the cards, break it down the class, and the first class we're going to go over is actually the warrior. So with that, let's move on to the class specific cards. Now there are 7 class minions, 15 class spells, and 5 class weapons. They all have general themes of either armor, or drawing cards, or doing damage, or charge. There are some other ones in there, but those are the general themes of the class specific cards themselves. So with that, let's move on to the minions. Now, the first set that you see kind of deal with charge. Now, Grom Hellscream is the top tier warrior minion. He is a 8/4/9, but his enrage is +6 attack, and he has charge. So you really just want to ram into something if you can, or ping him as when he comes out to give him that +6 to make him a 10/9, which is a very strong minion to have at that particular point in time. As well as the Krokor Elite, which has charge just by itself, but it has 4 and 3, so it can survive some AoEs as long as it doesn't get pinged for 1 or 2. And lastly, the Warsong Commander does not have charge of itself, but gives your other minions charge. So if you're working with an enraged deck or taunt deck, not only do your taunters, if they come out in the same turn as the Warsong Commander, provide some kind of misdirection or stop your opponent from going after your life points and they force them to target your attackers, they can also deal damage at the turn they come out, which is very nice. The next set of minions deal with either working around minion damage or giving minion damage, and the Frothing Berserker, whenever a minion takes damage, give this one +1, is a little high for a 3-drop, but if, again, there's a lot of cards in the warrior deck that deal with dealing damage or just straight up do damage but give it attack, so he can be pumped up very quickly with the right combo, as well as the Cruel Taskmaster, which its battle cry is deal 1 damage but give it to attack. So you could very well summon the Frothing Berserker, summon a Cruel Taskmaster, deal 1 damage to the Frothing, so it gains 1 attack, and then it gains 2 from the Cruel Taskmaster. So on the same turn as summoning it, it goes from a 1/4 to a 4/3. The next two deal with kind of more like interacting with your hero. The first one is Armor Smith. Whenever a minion takes damage, your hero gains 1 armor, and there are plenty of cards, like we were saying before, that either do damage to your friendly minions or your opponent's minions. And it could be, especially with 2 of them on the field, or just being careful putting 1 out, and then when that one dies, putting out another one. You can get enough armor to make it worth it, and it has 4 health for a 2-drop, so early game it can pretty much survive. It won't get whacked in 1 turn. It'll actually have some board presence. And then the next one is the Aretha Weaponsmith, which when you summon it gives you a battle cry of equipping a 2/2 weapon. So you have to kind of think of it as not a 4/3/3, you have to kind of think of it as a 4/3/3 that also gives you a 2/2 weapon. So it gives you a lot of utility because you can use the weapon to clear out small minions and then use that 3 attack to hit the enemy hero directly. So it's very versatile and it gives you a lot more options. Now, bringing up the pin game are the warrior class spells. They do not a lot of damage, but they do a lot of little damage, which is enough, especially when you combine it with the warrior's weapons, as well as the class-specific minions as well. Now, there are quite a few here, so I'm going to take a deep breath and just try to name them all off in one big shot. The first one is Shield Slam, which deals 1 damage per armor that you have at the time. It can be very useful for cracking big minions like Illidan or Ragnaros if you have enough armor for it. The next one is Mortal Strike, which deals 4 damage by itself. So it's a 4 for 4, which isn't that great. But if you go below 12 health, you will deal 6 damage instead. So you get that +2 if you're that low. It's a little difficult to do considering that you're using armor, and armor essentially is health, and armor leaves first. But it's always nice to have. It's basically a get out of jail free card for a 4 health minion on your opponent's side of the field, no matter what. The next one is Execute. Execute is a very low cost for basically saying, get rid of this. You can, if you had an Elven Archer, which is a 1 cost minion that has 1 attack and 1 health, but when you summon it to the field, it's a battle cry of dealing 1 damage. For 2 costs, you can get rid of almost any minion unless it has Divine Shield on it, or it can't be targeted by spells, which is the Fairy Dragon, but I think that's the only one of its type. The next one is Cleave, which deals 2 damage to 2 random enemies. Good for mini board wiping, and also just nice for the utility of it. And similar, but on a different taste, is Inner Rage. It's a 0 cost, it deals 1 damage, but gives it +2 attack for that turn. And that's the kind of card you would want to use on, say, Inner Rage, like a Raging Worgen, which is a 3 cost for 3 attack and 3 health. But when it takes damage, it has an Enrage of not only getting +1 attack, but also gaining Wind Fury. So if you summoned it the turn before, and it survives the turn to your next, you can hit it with Inner Rage, dealing 1 damage, giving it +2 attack, plus the 1 attack for the Raging Worgen's and Rage itself, so for a combined of 3. And then it goes to a 6/2 for that turn. So that Raging Worgen can do 12 damage to enemy hero that turn by itself. So that's a lot of damage for a relatively cheap cost. The next one, second to last one actually, is the Slam, which deals 2 damage, and if the unit survives, you draw a card. And that's actually a really good card, because if you combine it with Execute, you basically you draw a card, you kill off a big minion, and you still have, especially late game where you have 7, 8, 9 mana crystals, you still have 7 mana crystals to use late game to do for anything else, to set up defenses, to get a weapon, to armor up, and do set a minion with taunt if you have it. Really good utility. And the last spell is actually Whirlwind, which, just like in WoW, going nuts, hitting everything, deals 1 damage to all minions, which is really good early game and mid game, especially combining it with such cards like Wild Pyromancer, which whenever you play a card, deal 1 damage through itself. So you kind of turn it into a deal 2 damage to all minions, and kind of clears the board in an emergency situation, or sets up things like Execute, or even using Inner Rage if it has 1 health left to just ping it off. Now the next set of warrior class spells kind of deal with life or armor, which, you know, armor is basically like life, with the exception of if you have armor, whatever damage comes out of the armor first, and then the life second, which is very important, especially if you're making an armor type deck. So the first one is Commanding Shout. Basically allows your minions not to die that turn if you have to ram a few into 1 minion on your opponent's side of the field to kill it. Very good, especially with Wind Fury minions. They can ram into a minion, kill it, go down to 1 health, and then go for the enemy hero. Very strong if you play with the right type of minions. The next one is Rampage. Give a damage minion +3/+3, so you give it a lot of attack and kind of restore some of its health. A dream combo almost is to summon a Grom Hellscream, which is a 4/9, and then follow it up with a Crazed Alchemist, which switches the health and attack, so it becomes a 9/4, so the enrage automatically goes off and becomes a 15/4. And then on the next turn, if he's still alive, play a Rampage, so he becomes a 19/7, and the enrage is still there because his original health was 9, so he's still below the enrage. Still below the 9 health, so he still has the enrage, so it becomes a very powerful minion within 2 turns. That's almost like a dream combo. Never been able to figure it out to get it out in one game, but dream combo. Awesome if you could pull it out. Let me know if you actually do. And the last one is Shield Block, which is a straight up card. Almost matches with just the armor of your hero's ability of 2 cost, 2 armor. So even though you lose 1 armor compared to your hero's ability, it's the draw power. You can, if you have 2 of these, you're drawing 2 cards, plus you're giving yourself essentially 10 life, and that's gold, and it's only a 3 cost. Sometimes I try to only run 1, and I just find myself saying, you know what, just run the 2, no harm, no foul, and just working with the other cards as well. Now, the last set of spells are kind of one-offs by themselves. It doesn't really diminish what they do, it's just they're kind of, like I said, one-offs. There's not really anything like them compared to the other spells. So with that, we have the Almighty Warrior Bar Fight spell card of Brawl. Put every minion on the board into a big fight. Your opponent's yours, just let them go at it, and one comes out, last man standing. Basically 50-50 chance pseudo if you have the same amount of minions. And it can be used if there's only minions on your opponent's side of the field. So don't think you need to have one to sacrifice to play. Play when your opponent has 4, 5, 6, 7, and only one's gonna live. So have fun with it. The next one is Upgrade, which is a lot stronger than I thought it was. Shout out to Calamity and his warrior deck that knocked me out in the last tournament. Can either give you a 1/3 weapon, so basically 1 attack, 3 durability, if you don't have a weapon, or gives your current weapon +1 attack and +1 durability. This is actually really huge. Even just gaining the 1/3 weapon, when Calamity and I played in the last tournament, he used it to purest efficiency that I saw, and against my deck he used it really strong, and it's really good just by itself, and it's only a 1 cost. So very strong card, a lot stronger than I thought it was. The third one is Charge. It's a 0 cost, give a friendly minion charge. More popular with the Molten Giants or Mountain Giants. Summon it, give it charge, whack the enemy hero for 10 out of nowhere. Especially if you can use it with Young Brewmasters. Put down a Mountain Giant for free, give it charge, ram into it, and then resummon it, and then if it lives, you get to swipe for 10 again, or combine it with another Youthful Brewmaster, or if you just happen to have a Warstone Commander, which back in the minions part gives friendly minions charge, so you actually don't need the charge card itself, but you know, gives you more options to pull off that particular combo. The fourth card is Heroic Strike, which gives your hero +4 attack this turn. Doesn't sound like a lot, but if you're only that far away for a 2 cost and you only do 4 damage, that's actually a great way of doing it. You're doubling the damage for the cost, and then you have to remember that adds on to any damage if you have weapons. So when we get to the next session of just the weapons themselves, Gorehowl, which is the big warrior weapon of 7 damage, you can make it 11, and you can just swing for the enemy hero for 1/3 of their life and potentially end the game right there. And the last one-off spell cards is Battle Rage. You draw a card for each damaged minion. Now this could be really good, especially with Whirlwind. Whirlwind with 5 damaged minions, draw 5 cards. Simple, to the point, and can give you a lot of card advantage, especially in the mid to late game. Now we are on to the last overview section, which is the weapons. Now the Battle Axe is a 2/2. That's the one you get with the Aretha Weaponsmith when you summon her, and the Battle Cry is get a 2/2 weapon. The Arcanite Reaper, classic WoW right there. It's a 5 cost for 5. Has 2 durability. I feel it's a little bit more on the cost side versus the attack, but you know what? I haven't played with it. I haven't been able to give it a full test, and I again want to stray away from giving negative and positive feedback. So until I play with it and can actually do something like that and feel more certain, I'll go from there. But you know what? Classic WoW, why not? Play it, try it, see if you like it. Now the Almighty Gorehowl, 7 cost, big cost, but has 7 attack and 1 durability. Now you figure it's a 7 cost, 1 durability, you swing with it once, it goes away. But when you read the effect of if you attack against a enemy minion, it loses 1 attack, not the durability, which is very strong because mid to late game you can clear out Illidan's, you can deal a lot of damage to Ragnaros's or any of the dragons, as well as say like Hagar or token generators, and you can just clear them out one by one until you get to like even 2 attack or 1 attack, which is still useful with your executes. So it's actually a very strong weapon. You just need it. You just always want to get out sooner than you probably could, but it's still a very good weapon to use, especially with the right cards to combo with it. And then what I feel is the utility weapon is the Fiery War Axe. It's 2 cost, but you get 3 attack and 2 durability. The all-around low-level minion killer. That's what I call it. That's what I use it for in the decks that I have it. And then lastly, you have the Heavy Axe, which is the 1 attack, 3 durability, and that is the axe that you get when you play Upgrade just by itself, because it gives you a 1 attack, 3 durability. So that's how you get that one. So it's not actually one you can put in the deck, but it's there because of that. Now I wouldn't feel right without leaving you with a few, 2 or 3 conceptual deck ideas. Now the first one I'm going to give you is basically the Enraged deck. You see the Armani Berserker, the Raging Morgan, which I've talked a lot about, also the Torn Warrior and the Spiteful Smith, along with Grom Hellscream, the almighty green orc that he is. And then I show you there's Whirlwind, Slam, and Enrage, which all work very well, not only with setting off the enrages, but especially with the Slam, which draws you a card, so it helps keep your hand advantage there, as well as throwing cards onto the field. And in Enrage, like I specified before when we first went over it, deals 1 damage, so you ping the Enrage of any of them. So especially, never mind the Raging Worgen, but looking at the Armani Berserker, it gets 3 attack, so it goes up to a 6, and it's a 1 cost cheaper, so it's actually 1 turn before the Raging Worgen comes out. So a general concept of the Enrage, and give you a few spell cards to go along with that. Now the next concept is the Taunt deck. Pretty much all neutral cards. That's just because that's just the nature of the way the taunt works. But there's a lot of utility. The Sun Fury Protector right there, almost in the middle, gives you other minions taunt, kind of like the Wing Warsun Commander, which gives your friendly minions charge. So if you pair those 2 together, makes it very difficult for your opponent to get to your hero's life points. And then you have the Abomination, which is one of the best taunters out there, especially with this death rattle if you work it correctly. Send you Shield Master, which is, I think, by far probably the top or the second best taunter out there by the community and all the people I talk to, along with Hogger, which doesn't have taunt of itself, but is a token generator. So as you see with the arrow, produces a 2/2 null with taunt. So not only do you have to, your opponent has to kill the null to attack anything else, then they have to go after Hogger, which kind of protects Hogger and also protects your hero's life points. And then some spells help it. Again, Whirlwind is there, but also kind of changing it up to not so much with the rage of hitting your own minions, but hitting the opposing minions. To keep board advantage presence is Cleave, deal 2 damage to 2 random enemies, or if you have to ram one of your minions into it to deal damage, always execute the utility minion killer on your opponent's side of the field. And the last deck concept is kind of I don't know what to call it. It's not just one specific thing. It kind of revolves around armor, weapons, and throwing in a little bit of charge at the end to kind of balance out, okay, your hero has a weapon, you're going to do so much with that, and you're trying to gain armor, which doesn't do anything to your hero. So the charge ability of get a minion out and being able to attack that turn is crucial for dealing the damage, especially if the minion dies the next turn. I never get the damage in. So again, the Arethi War Weaponsmith gives Battlecry, gives you a 2/2 weapon. So basically it's a 2-for-1. Gorehowl, which went over, along with the Fiery War Axe. Going on from there to Upgrade, which we went over, Shield Slam and Shield Block. And then lastly down there, your hero's own ability of Armor Up. So it's a very well-rounded concept. Always have to pick the neutral cards and meld them in with the warrior class specific spells, but an overall well-rounded deck, and something that beat me in the last tournament. Thank you, Calamity. So with that, that's pretty much it for the warrior class overview as far as the cards. I hope you walked away with a bigger insight on how the cards work together, how they help you, and where you should generally focus your deck construction. The next class will probably be the Mage. I want to wait a little bit more in there. And then the one after that will probably be a Pally. And then after that, I have to start tinkering with classes that I haven't started with. So look for the Mage review sometime next week, probably either next Monday, next Tuesday, because it's just as diverse, if not more so, than the Warrior as far as cards, spells, which there are a ton of, and minions as well. So hope you enjoyed. As always, like, comment, subscribe, leave me constructive feedback, and I'll get back to you. And we'll just try to make these things easier for you and more information for you as well. And enjoy. So see you next time.